The views on this program do not reflect those of ONTV or its board of directors. Welcome to OAA Now, your home for Oakland Activities Association news and information. Here's your host, Sammy Terramina.
Welcome to OAA Now. Here I'm Sammy Terramina, blogger, the Dragons Insider, blogger of Inside the OAA, one of the hosts, Queen Terramina on Oregon Television. I'd like to welcome those hearing us on the local voice on SoundCloud and those watching on YouTube. We got Ian here back after after an emergency.
Allergic
reaction.
Yeah, I had a little allergic reaction a couple weeks ago, and it kind of put me under for a while. But I got it under control. I hope. Lots of little white round things have been popping in my mouth as prescribed by my doctor, and so far I'm feeling okay.
That's good.
But I'm back in the chair.
You're back in the chair, which is we got a lot of things to talk about over the past few weeks. We've had a new head coach last week at Farmington. We got a new coach at West Bloomfield and a departure at Southfield. We got to talk about.
So how we handle it? Which one do you want to do first?
Let's do the OA roundup first.
Okay.
Let's
all right. So
actually, no. Let's don't do the roundup first. Let's talk about these coaches.
All right. So let's do breaking news.
Breaking news. West Bloomfield named Therese Grice the new head coach at West Bloomfield, replacing Ron Bellamy. Grice was the defensive coordinator at West Bloomfield. Had a previous coaching stint at Detroit Renaissance for taking the defensive coordinator job at West Bloomfield. Of course, Grice we know for his magnificent defensive gurus at West Bloomfield. He has said that the whole staff will be in place. That was left over from Coach Ron Bellamy's staff. So when you look at this hire, this is a really good hire.
Absolutely. It's kind of what we anticipated. You got a team at that level, at West Bloomfield and what they've done, and they're still building on that momentum, and you don't want to rock that boat, right?
It's a great hire because to go with in-house. I mean, when you look at West Bloomfield's football program, Bellamy built that program based on, he did early on, he did rely on a couple transfers that came in there, but he developed them, became homegrown, developed program strength, which is very important to a football program.
Absolutely.
And I think this is going to be it'll be very interesting. Now, at Trice, with them Grice coming in, I mean, taking over the head gig, I mean, I don't see really any changeover. You know what I mean? When you look at West Bloomfield, I really think that it's going to be the same over there. They're still going to be very good. I mean, They got some key returning players back, led, of course, by Dylan Tatum. They got a new quarterback in Raekwon Nance. I've seen this kid play in JV football and as a freshman, and you've seen this on we had this on ONTV when we did the JV game. This kid is going to be a special player.
Yeah, he's really good.
Yes, he is.
And having that coming in, as the quarterback coming in that has the talent, and having that support staff around a young quarterback, not changing the scheme, not changing anything at all. You just plug him back in there, and you have veterans around him.
Right.
A freshman quarterback is a freshman quarterback.
He's going to be a sophomore.
Or a sophomore, but first-time starter.
Right.
Right? So you're going to have it's going to be one of those things where he's in the system, but varsity level's different than JV.
That is true.
But like I was saying, if you have that support staff around him, the veterans around him, you have the scheme that is not changing, familiar faces already, he'll find success.
I think that team's going to find success, of course. There's one player I'm really high on who had a good year last year, and he's going to be a junior this year, Samaj Morgan. I mean, I really like how this kid performs. He had a big touchdown. He had a touchdown pass last year against Belleville in the regional in the state semifinal. But I really think this West Bloomfield team, I don't see anything changing with them. I mean, I'd be shocked if something does change with them. But to me, nothing's going to change.
If you have two solid lines, a quality running back or two, which we feel they have more than one.
Yep.
That takes the pressure off that first-time starting quarterback, right?
Yes, and that quarterback also has running ability, too. So let's not forget that.
Correct.
I mean, you look at the quarterbacks West Bloomfield's had. I mean, when Bellamy's been there, Tristan Jackson, then you've had had Bryce Beasley, and then you've had of course, Alex Short, and then and then they've had others in that system. I mean, like, but the quarterbacks at West Bloomfield has been really, really phenomenal.
Yeah,
I mean,
and we've seen you're not going anywhere
no,
in the postseason
mm-mm.
without solid quarterback play.
Right.
In a nutshell, a solid quarterback could be that linchpin that gets you over the top.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Well, a lot of people are going to say, well, they had Donovan Edwards last year. Now he's gone. And, you had Dylan Tatum coming in there going to take his carries.
But those guys have played a lot. I mean, they've had games where they're blowing people out. Edwards takes the seat.
Right.
These guys have played.
Right.
And not only that, but if you go back to that Clarkson game, West Bloomfield Clarkson game,
mm-hmm.
who had a big game? Besides Edwards.
Meta.
Right?
Running back, yeah.
Right. I mean, he's
a power back.
Absolutely. And he was churning those yards. So they're okay.
They're okay. They got the right guy in there. They got the right guy in there. They got the staff in there. I mean, like, this is a good hire for at West Bloomfield Electric. Eric Pierce. This is a great hire for West Bloomfield. Basically, just keeping the system in play over.
Absolutely.
I do want to get your thoughts on Farmington's hire. Of course, I talked to Joey last week. When you look at the hire, Jason Albright was named the new head coach at Farmington. Of course, he was the offensive coordinator last year. Played at Farmington under for John Bechtel. The experience he's got coming back. What is your thoughts on this coaching hire for Farmington?
I just heard it, right? I wasn't in, so that was news to me.
Mm-hmm. Former player takes over.
Yeah, we've seen that in the past. We
Mm-hmm.
saw it up at Oxford.
Right, with Zach Line.
Right. But he was in the system. He's not coming in and revamping everything head to toe.
Right.
So it's another one of those familiar face, familiar system.
Played at Farmington. Yep.
Right. Played there.
Played there.
But he was also on staff, correct?
Mm-hmm. He was the offensive coordinator last year for Corey Roach.
Right. So it's a similar situation to West Bloomfield. You have familiar face, familiar scheme, and the kids know him, and you hope it just continues on. Are they going to improve? We're going to have to find some improvement.
Well, they're going to be in the blue this year. They're going to be in that blue. I mean, like, and I know, and Joey said a really good point to me last week was, they've got to learn to win. And Farmington last year really struggled learning to win. And being in the blue division, it will help things for them.
Mm-hmm.
But when you got some teams down there in that blue, they're going to be really good. Avondale's a team to watch. Berkeley's a team to watch. I mean, they're going to be very good. Ferndale's another one to watch. I mean, there's no cupcakes in that division down there in the blue. There's really none.
No,
and look at them.
And the coach coming in knows this.
Mm-hmm.
It's not somebody just off the side, some rando coming in. It's somebody that's in the system. So
somebody who's in the system,
right? And you and I have always advocated if you can do it, because if you start from utter scratch, and what teams do we usually see have to go outside? It's the teams that have been struggling for a long time, like the Pontiacs and such. So it's they're always trying to find some sort of solution. And here you hope that it's just a continuation, and then you working on into improvement, especially if there's a plan in place.
Yeah.
By the previous head coach.
Well, let's not forget, of course, Roach's departure to all the Western.
Jumping out of the OAA.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be. I've seen Soroch, what he's done his off-season conditioning workout. I've seen what he's done. I've got some questions surrounding Wall Lake Western. Just some big-time questions surrounding them. So I'll be very curious to see what they have.
Yeah, that's a story. I mean, we don't cover a lot of the Lakes.
The Lakes Valley, yeah.
Right.
Well, I'm telling you, when you look at Lakes Valley, South Lyon, you got South Lyon, Lakeland, South Lyon East is a team to watch. I think Wall Lake Western, to be honest with you, middle of the pack in the Lakes Valley.
Yeah.
They're a middle of the pack team. And I know Ken Schmidt, the coach at Waterford Kettering, stepped down over there.
Just recently?
So it
Wow.
wouldn't surprise me if a guy like Bob Chiesa takes that job. It wouldn't surprise me.
Okay.
But that's for another
day. It's that time of year, right? The coaching carousel continues to roll around and
Oh, yeah.
squeak around, and we're probably gonna see a couple more.
Maybe a couple more.
You know,
We did get one just recently.
yeah, well, here we go.
Tim Conley out at Southfield A&T, confirmed by MI Prep Zone Scott Bernstein. Of course, Conley coached at Southfield Public Schools for 16 years. Coached, of course, he was the head coach when Southfield and Southfield Ladysmith merged. He becomes Southfield A&T.
Yep.
He has done a magnificent job getting kids into colleges.
Yes.
In the D1 colleges, but the results prove otherwise. Have not made the playoffs in about everybody got in the playoffs last year, this year, but in 2017, 2018, 2019, did not make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So
It's one of those instances where you're looking at the program going, they should be doing more than they
have been. I mean,
at least it just feels that way.
Mhm.
Maybe we have higher expectations because we're like, oh man, yeah.
I mean, but I think that's one of the reasons is the results on the field that really did Conley in. It was 2-4 against Clarkston, 1-3 against Lake Orion. I mean, that in itself is not going to get the job done. You know what I mean? When you look at the record against those two teams. Now, why I'm not saying West Bloomfield, Conley was 3-3 against them. I mean, but I think really
But in the postseason, that's the kind of
to
the
get
measure.
to the postseason, it's the measuring stick. And Southfield
Absolutely.
A&T in their first year got to the postseason, but then the last 3 years did not make the postseason. And then when everybody got in the playoffs, they lost a tough one to Sterling Heights Stevenson in the district semifinal. So when you look at replacements there for Southfield, Fred Blankenship is one of them. Used to be at Michigan. Is a teacher in the Southfield School District.
Okay.
And then of course, there's Aaron Marshall, of course, who's the offensive coordinator at A&T, but also is Isaiah Marshall's father. So those are two interesting names to keep an eye on when you look at the Southfield situation. But when you look at A&T, I'm going to look at West Bloomfield, perfect example of program strengths.
Yes.
Tyrese Grice is walking into a beautiful situation. Just beautiful. Program strengths.
Numbers.
You got good
Success,
freshman program, good JV program. Riding high.
And who doesn't want to play for a team that just brought the hardware home, right? Everybody wants to play for that team.
And now you look at Southfield here. They have athletes there, but they didn't have a freshman team this year. Their JV program's been up and down. Program strength is a huge concern there. I mean, it's a difficult job when you look at Southfield A&T. I mean, obviously there's talent there, but when you're looking at what Conley did, he's done all these accolades off the field, getting kids into colleges and all that. But
which is awesome.
But the results prove otherwise on the field, and that's the reason why. When you really look at what's happening with Southfield, I mean, they want to see results now, and that's something I've been stressing for the last 4 or 5 years now, or something.
Yes.
I mean, the OA Red is a proven results league, and I've said this to you on many times. I remember the day when back in 2019 where Southfield lost to Adams before they had to play Barbaroos, that the teams ahead of them have produced results. When you look at West Bloomfield's produced results, like Orion's produced results, Oxford, Adams, Clarkston, Stony Creek, you know what I mean? You name it. They've all produced results. I mean, and then Southfield here, they did not. And
it's just one of those teams that you're like, we pick every year, right? We pick them to do well. And
I remember one year when they had Jared Purcell. I mean, Jared Purcell really ranked Southfield pretty high. I wasn't buying it. I really was not buying it, because the fact their schedule was difficult. I mean, you had to play Clarkson twice. You had to play Lake Orion on the road. You had to play Oxford. You had to play Adams. I mean, you had to play River Rouge to close out the year. I mean,
tough.
That's tough
For
know,
anyone.
For anyone. I mean, like now I was wrong on the record. I said 2-7 early, but they ended up going 4-5. I mean, missed the playoffs, but
still, it goes, the records, and that's the
reason why I did Conley in.
And I don't want to hijack the conversation because, but I'm going to slightly. But that goes back to the whole everybody makes the playoffs, right? We saw that a team like Southfield A&T, they had a quality team, and if you go 4-some against that lineup, that's great. Give me other teams that are going to have a schedule like that.
Well, I can name you one.
There's not
Oak Park.
One, right?
Oak Park,
There's not that many unless you're up in the red.
Right.
And that's one of those things where we're like, hey, strength of schedule. And it did not help them to get in. I know they changed the formula before all the COVID things, so maybe it's different. But when everybody gets in, just like we saw, I was skeptical. But then I'm like, I like it.
Yeah, because you see Cinderella's like Oak Park, you know what I mean, who went 0-6 to make the playoffs. I mean, like,
yes.
Well, technically 1-5 it counts Gross fiasco,
yeah,
but
that's true.
But Oak Park, perfect example of a Cinderella team. Warren D. LaSalle struggled, got the state championship game. I mean, like,
yeah, and it's almost like A&T has been on the back end of that stuff. It just it didn't work out, whatever. I mean, they got in this year or whatever, but it's one of those things where the schedule is so brutal.
It is.
And what do you do? And
what do you do?
So you play who's before you, and they've never complained. Just like anybody in the OA, you play who's in front of you.
Yep, you play who's in front of you,
and the chips fall where they do, and that's what you get.
Yep, and of course, do you see Frankenschiff or Marshall getting the job at Southfield? Because if they go outside the box, that's disaster in the making.
I think continuity is key. I mean, we've talked about it. If you have a teacher in-house that is capable and knows football, why not?
Why not give him a chance?
I know. And unless you have an assistant that is up high that has, unless the AD and everybody wants to go in a completely different direction and rebuild it all. Obviously, those are the discussions they're having behind closed doors. So it for them, especially A&T, it's like familiarity would be good for them. Continuity would be good because it's not a disaster down there.
No,
right? I mean, we've seen other teams that have been just utter disasters that have turnover every year or every other year.
That's true.
I don't think that's the case down there.
It'll be very interesting to see what happens down there.
Yeah. So we'll keep an eye on that, of course.
Let's look at basketball, of course. We got a lot of basketball scores. We have the...
So I don't know if you made mention the delay. The MHSA announced a week-long delay for spring sports, right?
Yes.
If the listeners that listening to this pod today didn't realize that was announced last week.
Yep, that was quietly announced last week.
Which we kind of saw coming because we had some delays, and here I am holding 5 pages of results of
with
games.
The winter sports, with the winter sports, still going on.
Because of the compressed schedules, and we've heard.
But a lot of other things have not changed, like the competitions haven't changed.
Schedules
haven't changed, so that does help.
And the thing, too, is I'll take a slight delay in a compressed schedule over nothing.
Like last year.
Right, that's your options.
That is your option. So
just as if you're looking for that lacrosse match or spring soccer and that sort of stuff, schedules, everything has been delayed.
Delayed for a week,
Correct.
It's moved a week, you know what I mean? So it's makes a lot of sense. This was an MHA decision, not a Michigan Department of Health Human Services decision. But
it's called logistics.
It's called logistics. It's called logistics.
Yeah, man. It
makes sense. You know what I mean? It really does make sense.
And
thanks for reminding me about that. I forgot about it.
Oh, you didn't announce it last week?
Yeah, I announced it last week.
Oh, geez. Okay, so.
I did not announce it last week, so I apologize.
I had to throw in that. I go, hey, I broke news for the first time.
I know you just did. I can't believe it.
See, I do my homework kind of.
Kind of.
All right, should we do the roundup?
Let's do the roundup.
All right, it's a roundup. All right, the OAA Roundup brought to you by Sammy Taramina and me.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great to have a sponsor for the Roundup?
Yeah, it would be great to have a sponsor.
Sponsored by Orion Neighborhood Television. All right, so as we just mentioned, game after game after game. There's games every day. There's triples. There's quads. There's no days off. They were playing on Saturday, playing on Sunday.
Yep.
So here we are with the Roundup here from last week, this 22nd. So some interesting games took place, Sammy, all week long. A lot of things happening, a lot of movements, a lot of
craziness.
All right, on the boys' side of things, Seaholm, Royal Oak. Seaholm took care of Royal Oak, I should say, 58-49. Johnny Cross had 18 points, and Charlie Bocos had 11. Michael May, 8 points for BS, and Dylan Hoffman had 16 points. Charlie Grabowski had 12 for Royal Oak. Avondale Berkeley met up. Avondale got the best of them there, 52-43.
That game was crazy. It was an 11-point game at the half, 11-point lead for Berkeley at the half. They blew that against Avondale. Avondale came back and won that game. I mean, that was at Berkeley.
Yeah, West Bloomfield Hills had a tilt. West Bloomfield went 68-55. Took care of them pretty handily. Ryan Hurst had 19. Richard Weaver had 12 for West Bloomfield. Christian Jordan had 15 for Bloomfield Hills. Adams and Oxford played to a tight one, but Adams squeaked out the win, 53-51. Mulholland had 25 for Oxford. He's still averaging 20 points a game, isn't he?
Yeah, he's still averaging around 20 a game, yeah.
Any more offense someplace else, Sammy?
Yep.
All right, Clarkston and Cass Tech met up. Clarkston 49, Cass Tech 25. DePillo 14 and 12. Austin had 13. Keegan Wasilic 9 points, 12 assists, and 8 rebounds. Oh, my. He's a stat machine.
Yep.
All right, so moving on. Grove 62 over Troy Athens 60 in OT in a tight one.
That was a good game.
Seabaugh had 20 points. Justice had 15 for Troy Athens. Ypsilanti Arbor Prep 49-46 over Farmington. Surprise?
A little bit, especially Farmington struggles recently.
Tight game there. Southfield Arts and Tech 52, Waterford Mott 49. Another tight game.
Yeah, well, that was a surprise one for me. Didn't expect that one.
They got it, though. Okay, moving on to Tuesday, February 23rd. Lake Orion Dragons take on Wall Lake Western. The Dragons get the best of Western, 53-40. Britt had 19. Brennan Jones had 14 for LO. Rochester 79-73 in 2 overtimes over Pontiac Notre Dame Prep. Matt Stone 27 points. Luis Bose had 17, and Armin Husani had 13 for Rochester.
Good win for Vance Kirkwood.
Absolutely. 2 OTs, too. That builds a callus on that team. Makes them tough.
Mm-hmm.
Madison Heights Bishop Foley takes out Ferndale University 70-68.
That was a good game, actually. That was a really good game. Tough loss for the Rising Eagles.
Absolutely. Wednesday, February 24th. This is real.
This is real.
First time you've seen this. Ferndale 51 over Clarkston 43.
Second time they beat them.
Trayvon Lewis 21 points. Cameron Reed had 10. Jack Kennedy 8 points for Ferndale. Keegan Wasilic 12 points. Zach Austin 11 points for Clarkston. West Bloomfield 68-67 over Oak Park in a squeaker.
Yeah, that was a good one, too. Buzzer beater.
Ryan Hurst 33 points for West Bloomfield. Keon Henderson had 16 for Oak Park. North Farmington 77-26 over Farmington. Ouch!
Good first quarter, 3 quarters, the rest of them were disaster.
Deion Haynes, 25 points. Bashir Jihad, 20 points for North Farmington. And that was it?
Yeah.
I said North Farmington. Yeah, okay. That's a lot of points. 77. Way to go. Adams 59-57 over Bloomfield Hills.
Buzzer beater.
Was it a buzzer beater? Justin Mims, 14 points, including the buzzer beater. Prescorn had 11 points. John Ursway had 8 points for Rochester Adams.
Yep.
Canfield had 12. Bramchick and Willis had 11 points for Bloomfield Hills. Buzzer beater. What's the story on that one?
Adams is a team to watch. I'm serious. Adams is a team to watch. I like that team.
All right, Stony Creek 54-40 over A&T. Trevor Smith 17 points. Alex Reeder 11 points. Zach Jones 9 points for SC. Jalen Mack had 9 points for A&T. All right, moving on. Still on Wednesday. A lot of games on Wednesday. Troy Athens 38-37 over Berkeley. Low-scoring affair.
That was a good one.
Justice had 13. Thornton had 11 for Troy Athens. Walker had 11, and Steinbach had 8 points for Berkeley. Lake Orion 47-39 over Seaholm. Alden Ritt had 18 points. Blankney had 9 points for Lake Orion. Ike had 11 points, and Cross 9 for Seaholm. Now, that was an interesting game. A lot of turnovers in that affair. I saw that game.
It was an ugly game. It was a really ugly game. I thought that Lake Orion they had enough. I mean, like, Xander Blackney had a big game there.
Yeah.
I mean, but he's going to need to be more consistent.
Yeah, who are the scores? I mean, it just kind of rotates around there for the Dragons. You never know what's going to happen. All right, moving on. Pontiac 54-38 over Ferndale University. Nice win for the Phoenix.
Yeah, they're off to a good start.
Avondale 39-38 over Royal Oak. Neal had 21 points for Avondale. So low-scoring affair there. Defensive slugfest.
Yep.
Truckload of games on the 26th, which is a Friday. Last Friday, Oak Park 55, Clarkston 37 in a mini slump.
That was a shocker.
Miller had 17 points. Henderson and, Ashton Henderson and Keon Henderson had 12 points each for Oak Park.
Yep.
Ferndale 60-55 over North Farmington. Drake had 24. Nicely done. Kennedy had 11 and 11 rebounds. Travion Lewis had 10 points for Ferndale. Bashir Jihad 21 and 12 double-double. Deion Hayes 15 points and 10 for North Farmington. Another double-double. West Bloomfield 69-43 over Farmington. Mitchell Say had 18. Rashard Weaver had 9 points for West Bloomfield. Stony Creek, another close one, 63-62 over Groves. Trevor Smith, 25 points, including the game-winning free throws. Alex Rader, 16 points for SC. Aaron Dubois, Dubois, 21 points. Daniel Lee, 20 points. Nick Lutz, 10 for BG. Bloomfield Hills, 42-37 over A&T. Ben Canty and Derek Lee had 9 points each for Bloomfield Hills. Pontiac wins again, 52-42 over Royal Oak. Rochester, 74-57 over Ferndale University. Matt Stone had 22. Williams had 14 for Rochester. Seaholm, 52-35 over Avondale.
Avondale's a team I can't figure out.
Up and down and sideways. Johnny Cross, 18. Charlie Bocos, 11 for Seaholm. Berkeley, 51-50 in OT over Oxford. Arshad Walker had 17 points. Logan Thomas, 16. Joey McNamara, 11 points for Berkeley. Mason Mulholland had 19 for Oxford. Lake Orion, 41-43 over Troy Athens.
41-34, man.
41-34. Alden Ritt, 22 points. Jones, 10 for Lake Orion. Michael Justice, 15 for Troy Athens. Thoughts on that game?
Yeah, I mean, big win for the Dragons.
Absolutely.
Tied for the blue right now.
Saturday, February 27th, games continue. Oxford, 55 over Brandon, 41. Alec Brown, 15 points for Oxford. Waterford Kettering, 52-45 over Rochester. Surprise. Matt Stone, 10 points for Rochester.
Benny Crenshaw, 23 in that game for Kettering. My goodness.
Troy, 66-63 in 3 overtimes against Adams. What a game. Brody Parker, 28. Ahmad Haj, 12 points for Troy.
Adams came back from 13 down in that game.
Wow.
Overtime. 13 down.
But 3 OTs, that's rare. You don't usually see 3 OTs. If people get to the line or foul trouble, that's a crazy game. All right, Sunday, February 28th. Moving on. Had one game on Sunday. Stony Creek 65-47 over Troy. Trevor Smith had 18. Lance Fogelberg 14 points. Alex Ryder had 10 points for SC. Brody Parker 21 points for Troy. And you're shaking your head, Sammy.
They're tied for the lead in the white. What's the mess?
It's all well. We said that was going to be the case, right? You got the 3 teams that could be beating each other up.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, on the girls' side of things, truckload of games. Monday, February 22nd, Lake Orion 45-17 over Kettering. Maddie Ebert, 15 points. Sydney Maddox, 11 points for Lake Orion. Troy Athens, 47-40 over Oak Park. How do you say that? Becca Dahlia, 14 points. Jillian Siak, 10 points. Sierra Scholes, 8 points for TA. Tamara Todd, 20 points for Oak Park. Tuesday, February 23rd, tons of games. Clarkston, 50-40 over Royal Oak. Detroit Edison, 62-53 over West Bloomfield.
That was a good game.
Hendricks had 16. Davis had 13. Logan Lewis had 12 points for West Bloomfield.
A lot of balance in that game.
Stony Creek, 35. Adams, 33 in a tight one. Lily Bosley, game-winning layup. Sydney LaPrairie and Mia Carson had 10 points each for Stony Creek. Ann Arbor, Gabriel Shard, 37-29 over Bloomfield Hills, 29. Troy, 60-48 over North Farmington. Laura Gumma, 27 points for Troy. Sella Leffler, 19 points. Heaven Rogers, 11 points for North Farmington. 60 points is a lot of points.
It is.
That's a crazy offensive team you got that they got over at Troy.
Just wait till watch Saturday, please.
Okay. Berkeley, 46-37 over Troy Athens. Riley Sanum, 20 points. Loon had 18 for Berkeley. Siak had 13 points. Shoals, 11 for Troy Athens. Lake Orion, 41 over Rochester, 36. 41-36 in a close one. Maddie Ebert again leading the Dragon, 16 points. Kylie Heck, 15 points for Lake Orion. Rangerian had 17 points, and Lorenzo, 11 for Rochester. Oxford, 62 offensive explosion to 37 over Avondale. Mackenzie Metner, 15 points. Emma Morris, 12 points. Miranda Winenko, 11 points for Oxford. And Savannah Schmidt, 13 points for Avondale. Seaholm, 52-24 over Ferndale University. That is a good old beatdown.
Yeah,
Sullivan, 11 points. Liebler, 8 points for Seaholm. Wednesday, February 24th, Clarkston, 69-30 over Seaholm. The offense continues the rolls for the Wolves.
Why did Seaholm play this?
Hey, it's on the schedule, right? Mm-hmm. Wiseman, 8 points for Birmingham Seaholm. Mm-hmm. Groves, 71-48 over Southfield A&T. Otis, 23 points. Sanders, 20 points. Destiny McCurdy had 12. And Caitlin Quinn had 11 for Groves. 71, another offensive output. Very nice. Thursday, February 25th. This is the ladies in action.
Yep.
West Bloomfield, 76. Groves, 51. Logan Lewis and India Davis had 13 points each. Nice balanced scoring. Hendricks had 11. And Batiste,
yeah,
I hope, is 10 points for West Bloomfield. Nevada Otis had 19 points. Caitlin Quinn and Caitlin Sanders, 10 points each for Groves. Parkston, 74 over Arts and Tech, 50. Tolmie had 13. Hadley, Caitlin Cool, and Madison Skripurski had 12 points each for Clarkson. Wow, that is balanced scoring.
Southfield's deep can't defend anybody.
Yeah, but Clarkson can fill it up,
That's
looks
true.
like. Royal Oak, 43-31 over North Farmington. Sarah Sogahan had 15 for Royal Oak. Sela Leffler had 10 points for North Farmington. Troy, 39-36 in a tight one over Stony Creek. Kenda Zeter had 14 points. Zeiter had 14 points. Charlotte Spatka had 13 points. Laura Gumma had 12 points for Troy. Mia Carson had 13, and La Prairie had 9 for SC. So they go from scoring a truckload to 39. Is that what you're getting at?
Just wait till Saturday.
Still. Adams, 52-40 over Bloomfield Hills. Peters Mark had 17. Kessman had 10. Let's see. Amelia Johnston had 18 points for Bloomfield Hills. Troy, 42-38 over Athens. Methner had 14. Morris had 12 for Oxford. Skylar Emerson, 12 points. Sierra Shoals had 11 for Troy Athens. Lake Orion, 54-30 over Avondale. Kylie Heck and Megan Marshall, 13 points each for Lake Orion. And Lawrence had 15 for Avondale. Farmington, 35-22 over Oak Park. Autumn Bartlett, 8 points for Farmington. On to Friday, February 26th, Ferndale University against Melvindale. Did that take place?
That did take place. I didn't get a score.
No score? Okay. So Oxford, 47-27 over Romeo. Richter had 10 points. Morris had 8 points for Oxford. Berkeley, 52-42 over Farmington. Ray Sanum, 18 points. Loon had 13. Withrow had 10 points for Berkeley. Macomb Dakota, 44-43 over Seaholm in a tight one. Shea McMaster, 15 points. And Annie Bugrin, 9 points for Seaholm. Royal Oak, 48-35 over Royal Oak Shrine. Sarah Sorhan, 17 points. And Kira Vance, 11 points for Royal Oak.
Could she be that Robin? Could Kira Vance be that Robin?
Absolutely. Okay, Saturday, the February 27th, winding down the girls here. Had an extra page. Good. Last page. A lot of updates. Farmington Hills Mercy, 75 over A&T's 60.
Like I said, Southfield can't defend anybody.
Can't. A lot of points given up there. Keanu Willis, 28 points, as no surprise there. Jalen Austin, 14 points for A&T. Berkeley, 39-36 in a tight one over Troy. Ashley Loon, 23 points for Berkeley. And Belleville, 56-44 over Groves. My word, I am out of breath. That is the OAA Roundup.
Man, did a lot of things, a lot of things.
That's a lot of games. And we know this.
We know this.
Right? Lots of games and compressed schedules, and we...
If you're Coach Sharia Cochrane, coaching Southfield's girls basketball team, the first thing you need to stress is defense, because
they're scoring enough.
There's the 5 of the last 6 games, Southfield Arts and Tech has allowed 70 points in 5 of the 6 games. That's bad.
Yeah, that's a lot of points.
That's a lot of points.
Yeah, and
they're scoring enough, but they're giving up a lot. It looks like to me down there, defense is optional down there. My goodness, the stats prove it.
Yeah, it kind of feels like that. That's a lot. That's a lot of points in a high school game.
Yeah,
to give up.
Yeah,
lots.
And then you look at Troy. Troy this week. They knocked out North Farmington, and then they had to survive Stony Creek. But the game against Berkeley was a mind boggle. They were up 2 at halftime, and
so that's their third game of the week.
Yeah, it's their third game of the week, and they lose that one by 3 points. Now, what helps Troy is that doesn't help. What helps Troy is that it's not a league game.
Yeah.
But what kills them is I am worried. I am absolutely terrified of this team because they need that balance to be successful. They can't rely just on Kendall Zyder to save them. You got to have Charlotte Sobaka, Alyssa Mantuza. You got to have Lauren Gumma. They have to be balanced. If you're Coach Julius Porter, you have to be balanced considering you still have to go to Stony Creek. You still got to play Clarkston.
But also look at their defensive stoppage, right?
Yeah, their defense has been pretty good.
Pretty good.
Their defense has been pretty good, but offensively, you know what I mean? That's where they got it. If I'm Coach Julius Porter, you gotta figure that something out offensively. You gotta get that balance.
I'm gonna take the semi truck, the OAA Caravan, and pump the brakes slightly on that. This goes back to the schedule. Third game, Sunday game.
That's for Troy boys.
Wasn't this a third game for the Troy girls?
Yes, third game for the Troy girls, yes.
Right? Same thing. Right? We were getting lots of games. Lots of games. That last game in the week. Fatigue?
Maybe.
You think?
Maybe. But I know there was a lot more fatigue on the Troy boys side because considering that they just got off COVID protocol and then they've had to play 7 periods, including triple overtime, And then, of course, you played the 4 quarters against Stony Creek.
Yeah.
So they played in the last 2 days 11 quarters in 2 days. And they still had to play 5 games in 8 days.
Yes.
That's insane.
Right? I mean, this goes to what we were talking about, these compressed schedules.
Mm-hmm.
You got it's, and I didn't realize they were coming off protocol. So they didn't have those games. They slowed down for, 10 days or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And you're coming off of that 10 days. And, of course, I'm sure coaches got them running. They're playing
Coach Gary Frelick,
game speed and all that stuff in practice as best you can.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, this is when you start having those games compressed and things. And, like, I didn't even put together the OT. So that's a lot of extra basketball to be playing.
Mm-hmm.
So
you kind of want to give Troy a pass on what happened to them on Sunday. Now, when you look at the white and the boys side of things, that is a mess. Because now you have Troy, Stony Creek, Groves, Adams, and Bloomfield Hills are still your dangerous teams there. And then Southfield right now, I can't figure them out. The way that they've been playing.
on the guys' side.
On the guys' side. The blue is a mess also in the guys' side as well. I mean, Troy, Athens, Lake Orion are tied. Berkeley's a game back. Berkeley, Lake Orion play this week on Tuesday, which is going to be really interesting down at Berkeley. If you're Lake Orion right now, you just won 3 games this week. You knocked off Wall Lake Western, knocked off Seaholm, knocked off Troy Athens. You have a consistent score in Alden Ritz.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're Coach Joe Schroeder, it's somebody else has to step up. You know, Brendan Jones has had games where he stepped up. Xander Blackley has had games that he stepped up. So when you look at the Dragons, where do you see them at right now?
It's one of those mysteries with this team. Like you said, who is the third and fourth score, or even the second and third score? It seems like they're trading off who's going to be the number 2 and 3. The one thing they've got going for them, at least from watching some of the games, is the defense seems solid. They have height. They seem to make free throws, right? You know, some of the little intangible bits that could cause other people issues. So if you go to the line, you know they're pretty solid at the line. But yeah, who is the number 2 scorer on that team and third scorer? Like, because you're right. I'm reading different names. It seems for each game is, Jones had 14 against Lake Western, right? But who is that going to be consistent?
He had 10 against Troy Athens, which was huge in that game. He had 10 points.
It almost feels like he's number 2 now.
He's probably number 2 now when you look at it. And
so they're going to, hey, we need 10 from you, minimum.
Yeah, if Lake Orion's in a really interesting spot, considering you have Troy Athens, who's coming off a overtime loss to Groves. They had to survive Berkeley by a point, and then losing to Lake Orion. That game was actually not as close as people thought.
Okay.
Because but when you look at the blue, you know what I mean. Oxford's still a dangerous team in that division. Seaholm's still a dangerous team in that division. So when you look at
still wide open,
it's still wide open when you look at the blue and that. I want to go to the red here. Is Ferndale, in your mind, the best team in the red division? With what they did to North Farmington, they've had Travion Lewis, Jason Drake had.
They're starting to feel like it.
Starting to feel like it,
right? And I guess the next 3 games instead of saying the next. I said the next week or the next 4 games. It's good. We're gonna know.
Ferndale's got a big one Saturday at Orchard Lake St. Mary's. And
wow.
St. Mary's did not look good against Birmingham Brother Rice. I mean, they had to survive on a Julian Roper 3-pointer.
Out of league?
Right,
obviously. But if we're talking red, but if you're going to play them and if they take them down,
then you got to talk.
Then you're going to say Ferndale. They're legit.
They're legit.
They're here, and
their only loss was in trouble overtime to Flint Beecher. That was their only loss. I mean. And it's Jason Drake's homecoming to St. Mary's. He transferred to St. Mary's.
Wow.
No, to Ferndale.
Yeah,
he transferred to Ferndale.
Yeah, it's starting to look like it. And if you're looking at the
red,
the offensive output for them, solid. They
Yeah.
got multiple scorers.
They found some bigs in Jack Kennedy.
Yep.
They found
Defense seems to be
defense seemed to
solid.
be okay. North Farmington, I think, is fine. I yeah, they got to go to Ferndale now and try to get a W there, but but if there's a team that's division titles hopes are shot right now, it's Clarkson's. They've lost 2 straight.
Well,
I mean, the injury to Keegan Wasilic is huge.
has that been reported?
That I mean, it has not been reported, but been almost close to confirmed. I've been getting texts from Scott Bernstein. That
An ankle injury.
it's an ankle injury,
right?
and if it's a broken ankle, he's done for the year.
Yeah.
So when you look at that, would be just mind-boggling for Clarkston.
Yeah, they have nobody to swap out for that play.
No, they have nobody to swap out for.
He's too good.
I mean, could an Isaiah Harris be a possibility?
But still, I mean, look at the production from Wasilic. I mean, he was points, he was assists, he was rebounds.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the stats I was reading here were just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, like, he's done that all from the small forward spot,
Yep.
play point. Now it's going to put a lot more pressure on guys like Luke Scherler, Mike DePillo. That's going to put a lot more pressure on them. And Clarkson,
they're not going to outscore people.
No.
You have to get what you can get, but that defense has to step up,
right?
And really do a good job, because you just lost 20-some points a game.
Yeah, and that's a huge loss. When you look at Clarkson's side of things. I mean, now you got West Bloomfield. You still got to play, and then we know they've won 3 straight after an 0-5 start.
Yeah.
And then Oak Park. Both Henderson brothers are starting to get it. Boano Miller, he had a big game against Clarkson with 17. Farmington's been in the doghouse a little bit. They've really struggled. Prince Jackson, Robert Davis. It's going to be very difficult for Coach Terrence Porter and Farmington to figure out what their identity is. And then let's go from the red to the gold division. Pontiac right now is still the cream of the crop.
Looking good.
Yeah, they're looking good, but they haven't been tested yet. I just don't. I ranked them 15.
Win the games that are on your schedule.
I ranked Pontiac 15 because they haven't been tested yet. Whereas you look at a team like Rochester, who's been tested, had that win against Notre Dame Prep in double overtime, had a real bad loss to Waterford Kettering. Let Benny Crenshaw score 23. You can't let that happen. But the team that I don't understand is Avondale. I can't understand this team. Here's why I can't understand this team. You knock off Berkeley at the Berkeley Blue, an 11-point lead. And then you beat Royal Oak. That's a huge
by
win for you.
1.
And then you play Seaholm, who is limping after just losing to Lake Orion. And then you have them on your home floor, and yet you lose by 17 to them.
Yeah, 52.
I don't know.
52-35.
I don't know what Avondale's identity is this year. I don't know what that team's identity is. The problem I have with Avondale is you think they look good. They look really, really good. You think, okay, they're turning the corner, and then they have this. Let's see them. You let Johnny Cross score 18. Let Charlie Buckle score 11. I mean, Avondale is more athletic than Seaholm, but I guess Seaholm just out-schemed them. That's pretty much all I can describe.
I mean,
I don't understand Avondale at all. I can't understand this team at all.
Well, it seems in that game they couldn't get anything going.
No.
I mean, and sometimes you can see in the high school game, like the first quarter, if a team is really clicking early and you get a nice lead early, sometimes it just kind of gets between your ears and you're like, uh-oh.
And then on the girls' side, we talked Troy earlier. I still think Stony Creek is the best team in that division, even though over Troy. I still think that. I think they're more consistent, Stony Creek is. The Red, West Bloomfield, we know about them. Clarkston, we know about them.
They're doing what we thought they would do.
Clarkston?
Yeah.
They're
scoring a ton. Defense, they're doing well.
And when you look at Clarkston, they don't have just one true player can beat them. They just don't. And I think when you look at the Wolves, I mean, like, they have 12 girls that can beat you, but at least 7 of them can beat you on a day and night out. So
yeah, the depth is ridiculous.
The depth over there is ridiculous over there, Clarkson. And it's just not just Manny Sikorsky. You still got Kira Tomey, Izzy Hadley, Caitlin Call. I mean, Clarkson's very scary.
Yeah.
Groves, young group, took on a good Belleville team. Really impressed with them. Like what Coach Antoine Simpkins is doing over there. I think Groves to me is a team that they're a lot of those kids on that team at Groves are young, very, very young. So when you look at Groves, they're a team to watch in the future.
So we are now, what, 3 weeks into the season?
3 weeks in the season. 3 more weeks to go in the regular season.
And that's going to fly by, dude.
Oh,
so 2 after this week left.
Then we have districts.
Yep. So if we're looking at regular season stuff, conference crowns and divisional crowns and that sort of thing, has the cream of the crop, has the cream kind of settled? Do we know who?
On the girls' side, West Bloomfield, I think, is going to likely win the division. No offense to Clarkston, Royal Oak or Groves, but I just think West Bloomfield will win the red. I think Clarkston can give West Bloomfield problems, but I just think at the end of the day,
even with their depth, you think
even with their depth,
West Bloomfield's better?
Even with their depth, West Bloomfield's better. No offense to Clarkson, but West Bloomfield's better. The white division is going to probably come down to Stony Creek and Troy. I just don't think Adams has enough. I don't think Adams has enough. The blue, I think it's going to come down to Lake Orion and Oxford. I really think it's going to come down to those two teams. Both teams got trap games. We're filming on Monday. Both teams got trap games. This evening, of course, Lake Orion has Troy Athens, and Oxford has to go to Berkeley. Of course, Berkeley, when they played Oxford, blew an 11-point lead against Oxford at Oxford. And then the gold division, I still think Farmington is the cream of the crop in that division. Despite them losing the other night to Berkeley. So when you really look at, those are the girls' side of things. On the boys' side of things, of course,
anything moving around?
I could see Berkeley maybe making some moves up, but I just think right now in that blue division, I still think it's Lake Orion and Oxford are the two cream of the crops.
Because we're like right at the halfway point, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is halfway.
Yep, and Rochester is another one to keep an eye on, even though they're in COVID protocol right now. But they're another team to watch.
That's tough at this point.
Yeah, but they don't come back till March 6th.
Okay, next week.
Yep, so they'll be okay. I think Rochester will be all right.
Any other teams stumble with the protocol?
The teams I knew were Troy boys. It just came back. Rochester girls were in protocol.
They're back.
They're going to be back soon.
Okay.
Those are the two teams I know that are in protocol right now.
Okay.
On the boys' side of things, Ferndale right now, cream of the crop. North Farmington's right there. Clarkston's divisional reign in the red is basically done.
Yeah.
West Bloomfield, Oak Park are going to be our spoilers. Farmington.
Who knows?
White, it's going to be the white's going to be going to come down to Troy, Stony Creek. Watch out for Adams, Groves, and Bloomfield Hills, especially Adams. I like what Adams has done. If there's a more impactful freshman than Brady Prescorn, give me a call.
Yeah.
Brady Prescorn is my most impactful freshman of the year. That I'm being flat out honest. That kid can do wonders. The blue, it's going to come down to Lake Orion, Troy Athens, Berkeley, and the gold, we got Pontiac and Rochester. So those are my inputs on the divisional
at the halfway mark,
halfway mark right now.
And with the way these games are scheduled, like by next week, they could be. Who knows? You know, it seems
a lot of good games this week.
A lot of good games, and we're at 54 right now.
Yeah.
I just want to say kudos to the parents, to the ADs, to the players, to the coaches. So far, we've seen not many COVID issues.
Right?
And a lot of it's precaution.
Right.
So we haven't seen illness being spread. It's just like a positive test.
Like a 14-day or a 10-day. Troy, I know, was in there for 14. Rochester right now, their girls are in there for only 10.
Okay. And because we saw other teams like Huron and Skyline and Ypsilanti, they are playing each other, and they knocked each other out for 10 days with a
COVID case.
With one COVID positive, no illness, but tested positive, right? So
Davison and Grand Blanc, I know, are in COVID
are they?
protocol
Okay.
right now. Both those boys' teams are in COVID protocol right
But
now.
what we're finding is like we're having isolated sets. It's
Mhm.
as far as like Skyline and Huron and Ypsilanti.
Yeah.
We saw they were playing each other. That's the only one I know of that really kind of they were in contact with each other,
Right,
and
the two
it
at
knocked other
Davison,
people
the two
out.
at Davison and Grand Blanc, of course, the Davison case was they played Grand Blanc recently, and
Okay.
that was a precautionary what Davison's doing.
Right? So, but it's sticking to just, it's not
Mhm.
going, oh, hey, all week we play all these different teams and it's knocking it's like a bowling,
Mhm.
rolling a strike here. Not 10 teams are getting knocked out with a single roll,
Right, and
which is good. We were
Mhm.
concerned with that sort of thing.
Yeah, and and I think everybody's being more precautious. You know what I mean? Like, and I think it's important. You know what I mean? Especially when we
Absolutely.
get into the
Something that we should bring up too is we're about 55 and a half is some schools are going back with full attendance.
yes.
That's coming.
I think that's risky.
I think so as well, especially at the larger schools. Smaller schools could probably get away with it. You spread kids around, but
I think that's very risky because, and I'm not being mean here, and I'm saying like, to go full in person learning, right now, you're if it was me, if I was a superintendent, I would basically just, stay the hybrid model. I would say the hybrid model. I know parents would not like that, but
each community
each community
tolerance for this is
it's
completely
completely
different.
Each community like this completely different.
Yeah, and my
Um,
concern is that when you get everybody back together, obviously the chance for this sort
COVID
of thing
goes
goes
higher.
up, and all you need is one
Mhm.
and a player to be in that situation,
And your team's
and
intended
the whole team's up.
Mm-hmm. But
So
we'll see what happens.
we'll keep our fingers
Keep our fingers
crossed,
crossed,
and yeah.
Spring sports coming up soon as well.
Yeah, hey, especially with a couple 50-degree days this week, it's
I mean,
feeling
go out there and enjoy it. You know what I mean?
fantastic.
Go out there and enjoy it. What games are you looking forward to this week, Ian?
Oh, I have not seen the schedule. Like I said, I've been kind of
Yeah,
under the weather, so I'm just kind of back now. So
I will
I'll
post-
take your lead.
I will post all that. I will post all the top games this week on the ONTV blog as well. Also post the my thoughts of after week 3. I'll post that on there as well at the ONTV blog as well. All it's on my blog at SammySemicolon@blogspot.com. I will post that all immediately.
Hey, I'd like to, wrestling's going on. Oxford seems to be doing very well. No surprise there.
Oxford, yeah, Clarkston's there.
But I'd like to. I'm gonna just take this time to congratulate my nephew.
Okay,
He's down in Nashville. He took 5th place at States in the 152.
nice.
And was wrestling for 3rd, but got pinned. So anyway, he was 5th place. So you can do this safely. They've been doing down in Tennessee for quite a while, all season. They just wrapped it up, like I just mentioned. It can be done safely.
Mm-hmm.
So that is encouraging. My 2 thumbs up to keep it up. Keep
It looks
safe.
like everything's being done safely, which has been a good thing. You know what I
Yes,
mean? So,
absolutely.
see what happens going forward. Keep safe, everybody, and remember, all mask up.
Mask up, absolutely. Think of your brother and sister sitting outside by you, going to the store. Wash those hands. Keep safe.
Yep.
Get that vaccine if you can, man.
Yep. I'm trying.
Yep.
All right, everybody. I'm signing off here. Take care, everybody. See you all next week, everybody.
See you, Sam. OAA Now is produced by Sammy Timreed, and the views on this show are his and mine alone. ONTV is opening its doors again to classes, so give us a call at 248-393-1060 if you'd like to make a podcast or a TV show in our studio. We're trying to do one-on-one, trying to get more bodies in the studio here. So if you're interested in getting your own show, give us a call at 248-393-1060. That's it for OAA Now. We'll see you next week. See ya!